The latest Space Engineers 2 update has arrived. Major update VS 2.2 brings mechanical blocks, which are rotors and pistons, weapons and combat basics, area welding, and production lines to the game. This update also expands exploration of new moons, asteroid rings, and clusters, while introducing planetary events and weather, trading and economy foundations, and customizable controls. Together, these systems deepen the survival experience and expand gameplay possibilities. Just a heads up for players of SE2, some new features introduced with this update require starting a new game to appear correctly. This includes new things like moons, asteroid rings, cargo ships, and a few more. So it's likely best to start a fresh world if you are playing at the moment and want to test these things. As a reminder, Space Engineers 2 is still heavily in development as a game. As such, everything in this update is subject to change, and things probably will change. For the latest in Space Engineers 2 development, hit that subscribe button. Oh, and I also keep you up to date with the first game development, so double hit the subscribe button, I guess. First up for this update, we have a change to the Almagest star system. This is a main location for Space Engineers 2, and where everything currently takes place. New locations to discover have been added to the game, with new regions to explore. Moons, asteroid rings, and dense clusters now add more depth and variety, encouraging you to travel further and establish your presence beyond familiar space. As I shared last week, the moon of Palatine is now in-game. No, it's still not called Palpatine. This is actually located next to Verdure and is the planet's natural satellite. Another moon, called Caligo, has been added to the game. This is in the vicinity of Kemek, which is basically Mars. Gravity on this moon is approximately 0.416 g. Its surface is defined by fractured highlands, sharp ridgelines, and heavy atmospheric haze that casts the terrain in amber tones. Now, light scatters unpredictably across its rock formations, giving the landscape a dramatic and sometimes disorientating character. Asteroid rings and clusters are a big improvement for the game. I'm actually a big fan of this, as it improves the quality of exploration in-game. On screen you can see some footage of me playing around with this, and I actually quite like it. These formations are fully discoverable and are resource rich, meaning you'll be able to find a lot of what you need for in-game survival. Once multiplayer is actually enabled in-game, I personally want to do some battles here. Think of it, imagine we could recreate one of the iconic Star Wars or Clone Wars battles. If you know which one I'm referencing, comment it below. We've got two main asteroid rings at the moment, the Viridian Halo and the Cryon Ring. However, there are three types. Spheroid fields contain more iron, ice fields typically contain more ice, and Radiant Drift features a higher chance of uranium, platinum, and titanium. You can currently discover named clusters in-game, but they are not visible on the in-game map at the minute because that's just not ready. At the heart of the Almagest system is Delfos, the gas giant. Space Engineers 2 has been updated to give this gas giant a killing field. Now, if you get too close, heavy dust and a fiery cloud effect will engulf and even damage or destroy your starship. Sounds great for testing, and you can see a bit of it on screen. One cool addition is Suit Oxygen. While you could breathe normally on Verdure, the Earth-like planet, in space and airless worlds, you'll need to manage Suit Oxygen carefully. This is done by the typical way of oxygen bottles, but this time they're produced in the Gear Forge and require ice to manufacture. I've not tested this in survival yet, so if you have, do let me know. The refill operates just like function blocks did in Space Engineers 1, however there are no pressurized environments or air tightness systems in the game just yet, so keep that in mind, hopefully in the future. So while this update is very exciting and a big step for Space Engineers 2, there is some detail we need to talk about. Something that irks me about this latest Space Engineers 2 update is a mistake the developers made before the game's alpha launch. Take a look at the trailer released today. At around 52 seconds into the trailer, we can see multiple engineer characters running up an exploding hallway and firing guns. It seems to represent red versus blue gameplay, as seen since the first game. However, there is one problem with this. There is no multiplayer in Space Engineers 2 at the moment. Now, while some players may know this, such as myself, who has followed the development, others may not know this. As such, if they watch this new video and see people running around in-game, they might think that multiplayer is available and they can play with their friends. Look, I get wanting to create a cool trailer, but this is also a bit of a slippery slope to upsetting people, and then that causes more problems for the game. People may think multiplayer is now here, but it's not. While a cinematic trailer is cool, I think the devs really need to be careful with it and perhaps add a small disclaimer on screen. Something that says this is not representative of gameplay at the moment. Lots of game trailers like Call of Duty, Battlefield, and most modern games have this. It's a common thing in modern day gaming when you are producing cinematic trailers. It's just something to keep in mind, and hopefully developers listen to this, as I don't want to see people refunding it and getting upset because they can't play like this at the minute. It's just veering towards misleading and false advertising, and yeah, we need to have a mature discussion about this. So this update for Space Engineers 2 has improved the in-game contract system. With the introduction of weapons, contracts now come with real danger. Hostile defenses and automated threats can fight back while you attempt to complete your objective. Contracts can now task you with objectives such as delivering key components, salvaging or recovering resources from dangerous locations. Many missions require you to solve engineering challenges at scale. This pushes you to build production chains, manufacture components, and transport large quantities of resources. These contracts do appear optional, so you can also solve them your own way. If you want to blow things up, you blow things up. Up to you. Of course, the big feature of this update is mechanical blocks of Space Engineers 2. Since the first game, people like you and me have loved creating chaos with rotors and pistons. Personally, I love creating rotating solar farms and massive hangar doors at the same time. Only rotors and pistons are in the game at the minute, so no hinge blocks. Also, they only have basic movement functionality, so don't expect everything. At the moment, we have the large 1.25 meter and small rotor 0.5 meter, and then the large 4 meter and small piston 2.5 meter. Of course, these do what they say on the tin, you don't need me to demonstrate it. While not a mechanical block, there is also a new block in the form of a deck panel. This is simply a building block you can use for floors, ceilings, or anything else you want. One man's floor is another man's ceiling. Thanks, Colonel O'Neill. Now this update also introduced planetary events. Weather is the first major part of this system, with multiple weather types being active in-game. There are sandstorms, rain, and meteor showers. It's a systematic layer meant to give planets more life and variation over time. For now, planetary events are designed to shape how planets feel and behave rather than act as a constant obstacle. Rainstorms occur on verdure in water biomes. During rain, solar panel output can be reduced. Sandstorms, these occur in desert biomes and also across Chemic. During a sandstorm, solar panel output is also reduced. You're getting a bit of a pattern here. Then meteor showers can occur on verdure, most commonly in the wasteland biomes. Palatine also has them, Caligo and Chemic. They deal damage to grids, but not voxels. In its first implementation, they run at a low default frequency and do not target players or player grids. They are truly just random. Oh, and also wind is now part of the weather system. With this update, wind is visual only and does not push grids yet. All events are biome driven and planet specific. By the way, the introduction of wind here likely is onto the wind turbine coming in the next update. The first foundations for weapons and combat systems are now in Space Engineers 2. The developers have mentioned that this is only the starting point for combat. Turrets only have basic AR behavior at the moment, so they will be targeting random enemy functional blocks and then armor blocks. In terms of ship weapons, we only have two. The first is the Gatling gun. This is a mounted weapon which has a maximum firing range of 800 meters, a magazine capacity of 300, grid damage medium but character damage high. And secondly, we have the Gatling turret. This does what it says on the tin. This again has a maximum range of 800 meters, a capacity of 300 rounds, does medium damage to grids but high damage to characters. While I really like the look of the Gatling turret, the static one does just appear similar to Space Engineers 1. What I'm not a fan of is the sound of these guns. I discussed this in a YouTube short I released last week, and it seems like the majority of you agree with me. The sound of a Gatling gun does not fit the design. I was expecting something with more power behind it. These guns need to sound evil, in a sense, like we're doing some proper damage and firing with proper force. Hopefully, this is a change we see in the future. In terms of character weapons, the assault rifle and rocket launcher are now in game. The rifle has a range of 400 meters with light grid damage, while the rocket launcher has a range of 800 meters with high grid damage. Good luck trying to shoot a ship out of the sky with that one. Of course, this is just the start for combat and weapons in Space Engineers 2, but I really want to see something different. Currently, these are just the same weapons we've had in Space Engineers 1 for almost a decade, well at least 5 years. Something new and fresh would excite players. I get SE2 is starting from the ground, but also give us something new. Foundations of the in-game trading and economy are part of major update VS 2.2. You can now earn credits through contracts, selling ores and components, and by discovering random loot. Trade terminals are located on stations that allow you to buy and sell resources and components. This initial implementation establishes the core systems for currency, loot distribution, and station-based trading that future updates will expand and refine. Cargo ships are also in-game, but this is only the first version of NPC ships. but they do simulate traffic within the Almagest system and can be found out and about in space. An interesting part of the lore for Space Engineers 2 is the data pads. These can be found scattered across the system. At the time of playing, I couldn't find one, so just deal with some B-roll. These contain short lore snippets that begin expanding the background of this universe. According to the devs, this is just the beginning. Much more story content will arrive as they expand the narrative layer and introduce the Almagest factions into the game. By the way, if you found any of these data pads, because they do drop from random encounters, and there are apparently 19 in this current update, do let me know, and also share on my Discord what they say, because, you gotta catch them all. Let's talk about area welding and ship tools. We'll start with ship tools, as these are obvious. Large and small welder blocks allow ships to weld multiple blocks at once using area welding. They pull required materials through the conveyor system, which we already knew, making large-scale construction and repairs significantly faster and more efficient. Large and small grid blocks now support area grinding, enabling you to dismantle multiple blocks simultaneously. This makes salvaging starships and deconstructing structures much quicker, and also more practical during survival gameplay. Of course, the drill block was already in-game. Speaking about area welding, this is available to both characters and ships. The character area welder and ship welders allow you to repair and build multiple blocks at once, making large-scale construction faster and more efficient. Grinders of ships also now support area grinding, therefore enabling you to dismantle structures more effectively. The area welder comes as a character tool, but also can be used on large and small ship welders, for example. In this update, the developers have also introduced the first iteration of production lines. The ability of production blocks to work together to produce complex multi-step recipes is now here, but still a work in progress. When your production blocks are properly connected through the conveyor network, they can request other blocks to produce required intermediate products, if such products are not available in the inventory system. There have been some changes done to SE2. This adjusted all the assembler recipes to require components produced in the smelter rather than just raw materials. However, load sharing among multiple production blocks is not yet implemented. Further production balancing and adjustments to the production chain are eventually planned as the devs continue refining the system, so hold your horses on that one. As we near the end, one of the big changes I was excited for was the improved GPS UI. You can now add new markers directly from your clipboard, edit existing markers, group and ungroup them, and sort markers by name or distance, and delete them more easily. Marker management is also faster thanks to new hotkeys. You can use Ctrl-A to select all markers, Shift to multi-select, Delete to delete selected markers, and R to quickly rename a marker. These improvements make navigation and organization across the Almagest system much smoother, especially as exploration continues to expand. Speaking of controls, you can now customize your controls in-game. This is something the game should have launched into early access alpha with. It was a little bit of an oversight there, and I know it frustrated many of the community. We all have our unique ways of playing our games, and that's even before we get onto the conversation of accessibility. Just because your game's in alpha, you should really make sure it does meet accessibility standards. Not everyone can play the games just like me and you can play them. If you've tried out the customizable keys yet, do let me know. I'm still in the process of setting all mine up. I do wish we could import from Space Engineers 1, that would be grand, but alas, that does not seem possible at the moment. Okay, let's look to the future. Future updates for Space Engineers 2 will explore features such as the event controller and timer. This will come in update 2.3, which will also introduce blocks such as wheels for rovers and ground vehicles, hinges, warheads, sensors, LCDs, wind turbines, and more combat improvements. There are also no updates on the programmable block just yet, but hopefully we will hear more about that in the near future. Of course, VS3 is where water will come into play. This is a much anticipated game system for Space Engineers 2, but I think multiplayer, which will arrive after water in VS4, is more anticipated. It seems that a lot of the community wants to play Space Engineers 2 with their friends. I mean, no brainer there really. However, do keep in mind that VS4 will only be a cooperative multiplayer, so that is 4 players, which I guess is a start. I know many of you, like me, want a proper multiplayer experience with dedicated servers and more. This seems to be coming in VS5, which promises full multiplayer with large-scale sessions. Interestingly, they don't mention dedicated servers, and I hope that's something we'll get. According to the developers, 2 development teams are working in parallel on VS3 and VS4, so the final release order may depend on which reaches completion first. Either way, they're pushing towards all fronts to bring everyone new features and deeper gameplay as quickly as possible. Hopefully they're not rushing it. Parts of this update did seem rushed. So there, it is possible we could see multiplayer before water. I'm going to make a wild prediction and say we'll get multiplayer first, just because I think water is going to be an optimization nightmare for Space Engineers 2. Let me know what you think. Would you rather see water or multiplayer first? Finally, one last note. I wish I could join you, my community, in commenting on the Space Engineers developer livestream. When these updates happen, I love to be there and celebrate with you all personally, and also everyone saying hello is actually just really nice, and I love being a part of that. Unfortunately, the developers have blocked me from commenting, which is a bit of a shame. But oh well, here is what we're at. Yes, I am being serious. My Captain Jack YouTube account is shadow banned from the comments on the Keen Software channel, or specifically the Space Engineers channel. Yeah, that's both video comments for any video they post and also the live streams. If you're wondering why you couldn't see me yesterday, that's the reason why. And yes, I have tested this on my other channel accounts. Oh, and if you were wondering if I ever got a response from Keen about my previous videos, if you know, you know, the answer is still no. Regardless of this, and I know it's a bit of a downer, I'm still here covering Space Engineers and sci-fi gaming for two reasons. One, because I want to, and two, because I know you in the comments really appreciate these videos. With that in mind, you can watch my latest Space Engineers 1 series, 3-Day 32, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you everyone, your support means the world to me. Goodbye.